Coming up today, Eagle Eyes on Tech, OpenAI CEO is coming back. We're gonna go over everything that happened with this absolute hot mess of a story. Dbrand is suing Castify for stealing their designs. Ubisoft tries to integrate ads into the video game UI, and AMD Threadripper is back with a vengeance. All that more come today on Eagle Eyes on Tech. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or it's to me. This is Eyes on Tech guy. I'm Eagle Falcon. I have to open up with a correction. I have to open up this correction because A, I gave bad info, and B, because every other outlet out there that flew with the same information that I flew with is not correcting this, and this is a key piece of information when it comes to this story. Okay, I need to talk about the PlayStation Portal. For those of you who are not aware, the PlayStation Portal is a device that seems to have an identity crisis, and now that it's out, the reviews are actually more mixed. But before it launched, it was very poorly received. It's $200. It's a Wi-Fi only device, and it cannot play games on itself. Here's the important piece of information that both Sony very poorly brought across. Like, they didn't mention this feature at all, and it actually brings this thing from absolutely useless and absolutely makes no sense within their own home country of Japan to, okay, I can see a use case for this. The feature that so few missed and is only being discussed about now that it's actually in the hands of people in the wild is that it can access the PS5 off of its own LAN. What the heck did I just say? Let's rewind a little bit. So what the PlayStation Portal is that it is a handheld gaming device that is incapable of playing games on its own. It has to connect to a PS5 that you have somewhere at home. During the setup of the PlayStation Portal, you sync it up with your PS5, and the way Sony pitched it made it seem like it could only play games off your PS5 within the same Wi-Fi network as the PS5. This makes its use case extremely limited and only seeing real value in a larger home. And what was even more baffling is that in the country of origin, Japan, where your houses are roughly the same size as my walk-in closet, it made even less sense. What they neglected to mention is that you can play games off your PS5 as long as you have Wi-Fi, period. So for example, let's pretend that I had my PS5 hooked up permanently. I don't actually. My setup, I constantly take consoles on and off my desk on the regular. But let's pretend for a minute my PS5 was part of my home entertainment system and it was in a perpetual sleep mode and I had a PS Portal. All right. If I take my PS Portal to work and my Wi-Fi is good enough both at home and at work, I could play my PS5 and have that quality of gaming experience at work with a bit of delay. So my frustrating experience in Final Fantasy 16 somewhat hard mode, but not really hard mode, would be much harder because there's a delay now. But you know, that's here in North America. In Japan, your internet is quite a bit stronger, and this actually now can start making sense. Now, the reason I have to correct this is because I said this device only works at home. It does not. And because it does not, this device went from a really strange and obscure idea to one that does, in fact, have a future. That being said, with that all said, I would have much rather have seen this device cost, I don't know, $50, $100 more, have a better processor in it, be able to run some games on its own, actually have its own portable gaming ecosystem, or sacrifice a little bit on the image quality and knock it down $50. Because for what it is, it's a hard sell. $200 for a device that needs a PS5 is still a hard sell. But this is now a device I can see a use case for. So I felt it is important. I come out here, I correct the record and what I've reported on. I still think it's a tough buy. I still think the overwhelming majority of people who are in the PS5 ecosystem should not buy this and probably will not buy it. But the use case now went from the only person who's going to buy it is like the parent with a large home that wants to go ahead and play their PS5 games while the kids are using the TV to a lot more than that. So there, we got that out of the way. PS Portal, actually better than I originally thought. I admit that. There's our correction. Your move, Verge. Your move, Engadget. Your move, literally every other tech outlet out there that is refusing to talk more about the PlayStation Portal because you're afraid of saying you were wrong. I'm not afraid to say I was wrong. Come on. Let's see it. Hey, when I'm wrong, I'm going to call it. Kind of like I was wrong about OpenAI. I originally said that the story was very interesting. I was wrong. It's not very interesting. It is absolutely a hot mess. Holy cow. The amount of corrections I had to issue, or rather updates to the OpenAI story just for the last week is staggering. Let's catch everyone up to speed, okay? So last podcast, I talked about, and here's the best part, because the people who watch the podcast live at twitch.tv/EagleFalcon did not hear about the corrections I put in. I put in multiple updates. I think I put in 5 or 3 total, because we record the podcast on Saturday, which originally sounded like the OpenAI CEO Sam Altman was kind of being pushed out by an angry board, to then it being clear, no, he was ousted out. And then, well, let's start from the beginning, all right? Last Saturday, Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, was ousted by the board. The board then put into place as interim CEO Mira Murati. Okay? That's where we left for those who watch the podcast live. The next update after that was, in fact, actually, what happened first? I actually now need to get this all in order, because this was actually insane. The next update was then that Sam Altman was then hired on by Microsoft as the new head of their AI team, which made perfect sense, okay? And this actually went from, wow, some weird stuff's going on at OpenAI, to a Ultra Chad power move. Because you've now taken the head of ChatGPT that Microsoft is basically in a very hot and intimate relationship with, and just hired him on fully, period. Like, Microsoft's use of ChatGPT, which is the primary product of OpenAI, is everything. You name a thing Microsoft runs, and ChatGPT is probably a part of it, usually in the name Copilot. Okay? If you see anything by Microsoft that has the word Copilot in it, chances are it's powered by ChatGPT. So Microsoft wanting to go ahead and hire Sam Altman, that is a huge power move and is rather brilliant. Okay. That's the first correction. The next correction was the most WTAF move ever. All right. So remember how OpenAI promoted internally with, I want to make sure I have the name correct. With they hired internally Mira Murati as their interim CEO. 2 days later, OpenAI, and I don't know anything about Mira Murati, but I do know about the next CEO that OpenAI hired. OpenAI then hired former Twitch CEO Emmett Shear, a man whose leadership credentials include letting Twitch rot and decay and allow the existence of sketchy stream platform Kick to exist and grow into a formidable force built on illegal gambling winnings and stolen source code. That's Emmett Shear's resume for you. And OpenAI went ahead and hired him as a second interim CEO. To say this was a shocking and confusing and really, really, really stupid decision is an understatement. It's a move I could not comprehend. It was by far one of the dumbest moves I have seen in a long time. I think it was at this point when this was announced that I pretty much gave up on editing the previous podcast and trying to put in updates in between the commercial breaks, and instead just made a breaking news episode. Because then after that, there's more. Because then after that, there are 700 employees at OpenAI. 505 of them signed an open letter demanding the board that fired Sam Altman to resign, or they would resign, which would effectively leave a board that no one had faith in with 195 of the 700 employees they had before, and quite possibly the worst tech CEO in the industry at the helm. It looked, as of last Monday, the collapse of OpenAI was imminent. Because if they followed through and no one stepped down, what would be left to run OpenAI? Like, seriously, what would be left? And keep in mind, there's also the herd mentality. Those 195, I guarantee you the amount of people that would leave, assuming all 105 did leave, there'd be even more than the 195 left that would just leave as well, especially when you have that much of a majority leave. And of course, Microsoft, not being stupid and brain dead, unlike OpenAI's board, did offer all these people that signed this letter that said, if you do leave, we would welcome you in our AI team with open arms. So that was last Monday. It looked like basically Microsoft was on the verge of practically owning OpenAI, because OpenAI went ahead and collapsed in on itself, and Microsoft had to spend nothing extra anyway, just the payroll for all these new employees. That's what seemed imminent. Of course, if you heard the tease for this podcast, you know that's not what happened. Despite the fact that everything was leading to OpenAI collapsing in on itself and everything that OpenAI had basically moving over to Microsoft. And before you go, but the intellectual property would still belong to OpenAI. Everything OpenAI made was open source. It's not hard to go ahead and take the current source, fork it off into Microsoft GPT, and then take that source code private or closed or whatever the actual term would be. So what happened? How did this all conclude? Well, the board did in fact back out. A large chunk, and by a large chunk, I mean the majority of the OpenAI board of members stepped down. Sam Altman is now CEO of OpenAI again, and there is a new board that is currently being constructed. Not fully built yet, but it looks like OpenAI has managed to avert a massive collapse. Someone in chat asked, did the board members that resigned get blacklisted? I don't know. They are going to have the old board members are going to have a very difficult job getting a hold of any sort of leadership position. But then again, I thought the same of Emmett Shears. So I guess anything is possible. But of course, you probably have the same question I did. How did this all get started? What the heck spooked the old board enough that they risked tanking all of OpenAI to get rid of Sam Altman? What the heck did Sam Altman do to spook the old board? We don't know for certain, but I think I know enough at this point to put together a very good educated theory. All right. As someone just mentioned in the chat, OpenAI is not a company built on profits. OpenAI's board is built on the grounding principle that they are there to advance and serve humanity, not to generate profits for OpenAI. Sam Altman as CEO does have to worry about profits, since profits is what's going to maintain the company and allow it to continue to exist. I know a lot of people hear, oh, profits. Oh my God, you greedy SOBs. Oh my God, those profits. Well, without profits, you can't pay your employees. And if you actually intend to be a good company, you do need to pay your coders. You do need to pay your bills. You do need to pay in order to keep everything running. But with this in mind, what spooked the board was the fact the board thought that Sam Altman was in fact trying to stray away and cross the line between generating enough profits to maintain the stability of the company and trying to actually be greedy. And that was because Sam Altman was fundraising in the Middle East for a new chip venture to rival NVIDIA. This is the basis of my theory. Sam Altman was trying to go ahead and raise funds, try to go ahead and develop new AI chips to get out of the absolute money grubbing death grip that NVIDIA has on the AI chip business. However, the board, when they hear that, Sam Altman's trying to go ahead and get into the chip making business, which is incredibly powerful for NVIDIA, they freak out, think Sam Altman is just trying to go ahead and raise tons of money for a profit and to get on a very profitable business, and tries to oust him, not realizing this move is so that, a company like OpenAI can pay a lot less in the long run for AI chips rather than the $10,000 that NVIDIA asks per AI card. Not per server with AI cards, per AI card singular. So that's my theory. And quite frankly, I'd have to say, yeah, the board is an idiot. And the board acted very, very foolishly. Someone in chat is mentioning that OpenAI has a parallel entity they created, which does allow for profit, and that entity has an arrangement with Microsoft. That actually could also play a role into this theory, or very quickly becoming a theorem, as we do have evidence to back up the hypothesis, because Sam Altman is in charge of the nonprofit wing, but he's looking outside of that. At the same time, though, it's, come on, really? Really? You're going to go ahead and get rid of the AI guy because he's out trying to go ahead and figure out how to not pay 10 grand per chip? It's a little absurd, I'm not going to lie. Granted, I do have to say, when it comes to companies trying to find a way to get out of NVIDIA's boot when it comes to AI chips, I do have the bias that if enough people stop relying on NVIDIA for AI chips, NVIDIA can start pricing their gaming GPUs a lot more reasonably because they actually have to now sell their stuff to us here in the States. Or just in general, just selling to the gamers, the common people. Now, with that all said, if you want to know just how bad the AI chip business is, we have found the reason why a ton of high-end cards are vanishing off the market. Chinese factories are dismantling thousands of NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4090 GPUs and turning them into AI cards with blower-style solutions so they can be rack-mounted. It's always the Chinese factory, isn't it? It's always some random place in China trying to go ahead and just take the highest end cards and just, yep, yeah, they're now for AI now. Real talk though, I actually do unironically want to see more gaming cards with these kind of blower style GPUs on them. Not because they'd be better for gamers, far from it, but because I want to go ahead and use these cards in my own servers, and I cannot use standard air-cooled gaming GPUs in my rack mount server in my dining room. What? It's very okay. Even the freaking Founder Edition cards now use a cooler style that is unusable in a rack mount case. It is very aggravating. How am I supposed to edit TikToks with a freaking God? What caliber of card is currently in render right now? I think it's a GTX 760 equivalent card. It's sad. It's why the podcast was late last week. I kept having to edit and re-edit and re-render and re-render, and it took hours to do so. It feels bad, man. It feels really, really bad. But you know, I gotta give him credit. This is clever. This is, in fact, very, very clever. Now, with all that said, there are reports that may, in fact, turn out to be a new variant of an AI card that NVIDIA and SK Hynix are supposed to be working on, that instead of using GDDR6 RAM is using HBM4 memory. For those who don't understand what that means, normally on a GPU, if you ever take off the cooler, which you really shouldn't do, you will find on it, I actually have one somewhere around here, don't I? That doesn't have a backplane on it. I'm pretty sure I do. And I might as well go get this visual aid since you do a video podcast for the most part now. All right. On the underside of a GPU, if you don't have a backplane, you will see in the middle, right here, I'm holding up an old, that card's actually dead, by the way. Right here is the actual GPU die. You're looking at the underside of it. That's the port bracket, and then a whole bunch of transistors and whatnot under there. Or those are actually resistors under there. Doesn't matter. But those black chips around it is the RAM. There's actually black chips on the bottom and the top of the card. And it varies from card to card. What HBM is that rather than the memory being separate chips like that, it is actually integrated into the GPU silicon. What this means by being integrated into the GPU silicon is that the memory is much faster for the card to access. For most gaming applications, this matters basically not at all. But for high-end applications, like say AI compute, this matters a lot. In addition, though, HBM memory versus regular GDDR memory is way more expensive because the memory has to be way more dense because it has to fit on the GPU silicon. And this now means that if there's a defect on even one of the memory modules built into the silicon, the whole GPU has to be scrapped, rather than in the case of this card that has one GPU chip and I'll just say 8 RAM chips. If one of the RAM chips has a manufacturing defect on it, you're replacing one chip. Whereas with HBM, if one of the memory modules is bad during manufacturing, the whole card, the whole GPU has to be discarded, which then of course drives up costs. That's why it's not usually done except in very, very specific tasks. So this card that is being worked on by NVIDIA and SK Hynix is using HBM4. I almost guarantee you it's going to be used for professional applications. Someone in chat says don't discard, sell it as a lower model. In the case of HBM memory, you really can't unless you can confirm that the defect only affects the one memory module in the one GPU. You can disable chunks of the GPU, but in the case of HBM memory on GPUs, because your tolerances are so tight, one defect basically kills the whole chip. It's the main reason you don't see it anymore. AMD tried to go this route long ago, thinking it would give them a huge advantage, and they found out, wow, that was awful. Let's never do that again. And then no one ever did it again, except on like the crazy high-end quadros or anything like that. That being said, though, that person in the chat isn't wrong, though. It is not uncommon that if, say, a 4080 out of manufacturing has a bad compute unit, they'll disable that compute unit, downclock it a little bit, and then sell it as a 4070. That is actually not uncommon at all. And that's actually been going on for a long time. That's right. Your 4060 or 4050, when that decides to exist, could just be a defective, really good GPU. I'm depressed now. Let's take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about some of the other crazy bits of insanity going on, including the wonderful lawsuits going on between a sticker company and a case company. This one actually is very interesting. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech. I'm Eagle Falcon. Alexa! Yeah, I know. I triggered every single one of your idiot pucks. I'm not sorry. Alexa! Remind me to watch Eagle Eyes on Tech on Mondays at noon. The Amazon Echo department is suffering more job cuts. Yeah. They're not done gutting this division of Amazon yet. In fact, they are cutting it more in favor of sharpening focus on, oddly enough, generative AI. Am I the only one that sees how stupid this statement is? All right, look. We have this department that tries to be an artificial intelligence, listening to your requests and fulfilling the tasks. Let's cut the division built around answering humans in favor of a new division that takes human responses and generates responses to them. Why is this not the why is this not the same division? I don't understand. I don't get it. I can't even. I just can't even. But I feel bad for all the people at the Alexa division that are losing their positions. I assume they're losing their positions, be offered new ones in this new generative AI division, which will inevitably be rolled into the Amazon Echo division, because let's be perfectly honest, we all know eventually, in one way or another, generative AI is going to make their way over to the Amazon Echo department. Does anyone see it going any other way? What else is Amazon going to do with generative AI? They're going to integrate it into their smart speaker ecosystem. It's obvious. I don't understand. I really don't. With that being said, though, we now get into the lawsuit segment of today's episode. This now goes to Santa Clara being sued by NVIDIA for allegedly stealing secrets. Wait, am I reading this wrong? I think I am reading this wrong. I think they're saying that NVIDIA is based in Santa Clara and not that Santa Clara is a separate entity. Who is suing NVIDIA? I don't understand. The company that is suing. All right, so Valio is suing NVIDIA. I have never heard of Valio. Has anyone ever heard of Valio? But that is what NVIDIA is, or that's what Valio is claiming. They're claiming that NVIDIA poached. It appears the claim is that they stole trade secrets and then went to NVIDIA. Good luck with that. So the claim actually is in regards to the developer Mohammed Maniruzaman, which I have most likely mispronounced, and I deeply apologize for that, but that's what they've given me here. Apparently, went to NVIDIA after working at Verlo Sculptor at und Sensoren, which I have also most likely mispronounced. And apparently, with this hire, NVIDIA gained trade secrets from Valio, and Valio is now suing NVIDIA. All I can say is good luck with that. NVIDIA is usually pretty thorough with this sort of stuff, and if secrets did in fact get out because of this, it's going to be very difficult to prove, and unless they had a non-compete for the guy, they're kind of SOL. So someone in chat just provided me with a Wikipedia page for Valio. They are a French global automotive supplier, headquarters in France. I'd hope so. All right, so they are an automotive supplier. That's why the company name is so obscure. Yeah, I don't see the suit going many places. I do, however, see this next suit going places. Dbrand, a Canadian company known for selling stickers for devices and for producing some of the snarkiest tweets ever known to man, is suing Castify because Castify stole designs from Dbrand and YouTuber Jerry Rig. Everything. So let's start at the beginning. Dbrand and Jerry Rig Everything started a collaboration long ago, and it's been going on for quite a while now. I want to say like 5 years at least. This collab is called the Teardown skins. So what Dbrand does is that they sell pretty high quality M3 vinyl stickers that go onto your phone or console or whatever, and they have some kind of design to them. In the case of the Teardown skins, the skin is the almost exact look of the inside of your device. The difference is that Dbrand, being the meme lords that they are, do put in a number of Easter eggs, like changing a lot of numbers to their founding date, which would be November 11th of 2011. So you'll find 11/11/11 in quite a few places. Things like the all-seeing eye and like little Easter eggs here and there that you'd never see on the inside of a device, like a ribbon cable that says glass is glass and glass breaks, which is a very common jerry-rig everything tagline, or like a tagline on a battery saying if explodes, look directly at explosion, or something like very meany like that. Okay, the skins, I've never used them, but they seem innocent enough. Okay, and the detail on them is actually very good. Dbrand actually goes into a lot of effort to tear down the phones, take high quality scans of the internals of the phones, do some creative liberties such as the Easter eggs, or showing the copper coils on the wireless charger, which is normally sealed, and that sort of thing. Like, a lot of detail goes into them. Enter Castify. Castify is a company that they sell pure unadulterated Chinesium. What the heck do I mean when I say Chinesium besides potentially being racist? Well, Chinesium is a term I've used pretty frequently for something that is really cheap, sold at a fairly cheap price, but nowhere near as cheap as the materials, and just meant to be a very cheap knockoff. You usually find this with some sort of nothing name company that ends up existing for a grand total of a couple of days, and then after they make their money, they close up shop and pack out. At work, we have 3 Chinesium little stick vacuum cleaners that barely work and you can't get parts for anymore because the company decided to nope out of existence. Amazon right now is flooded with a ton of these kinds of products, and if you want even more of those, go to wish.com. They are nothing but 100% Chinesium products. There, add that to your dictionary. Or email me how I'm a terrible person for coming up with this term. I don't care, by the way. I am going to stand by that term. All right, but what's even better about Castify is the fact that Castify goes ahead and has a ton of collaborations, which they, for some reason, spell as CO-LAB. And this includes major brands like Evangelion, Marvel Spider-Man, the Powerpuff Girls. Is there a new Powerpuff Girls? Or are we just... like, I thought the Powerpuff Girls stopped being made for a while now. Pixar's Monster Inc., The Mandalorian, One Piece, Mickey and Friends, Harry Potter, Disney Princess, Sailor Moon, Toy Story, The Lion King, which I have now accidentally clicked on. You get the idea. I cannot back out. There we go. Oh, nope, that's it. It's a very strange list of collaborations, but there's also, you know, collabs with K-pop, various lifestyle brands for some reason, the NBA and Combank Middledus, which is apparently a sport, a collaboration with Oreos and Lamborghini for some reason. They have a Dragon Ball Z basketball for some reason. Aren't we like 3 series removed from Dragon Ball Z now? Like, we're on to whatever came after Super, right? But you kind of get the idea. There are tons of these kind of collaborations. So upon first glance, you'd assume they work with tons upon tons of major companies. So what's Dbrand on about? Well, here's the thing. Dbrand put out a series of tweets. These series of tweets show some very interesting similarities between Dbrand's teardown skins and Castify's inside out skins. By the way, the inside out skins are gone from Castify's site now after they were called out about it. Inside out from Castify is pretty much exactly what you'd think. Skins and cases. By the way, Dbrand also has teardown cases of phones in addition to the skins. And Castify's is of the internals of the phone, but with, you know, Castify Easter eggs on them. But the thing is that the resolution of Castify's products is remarkably low res and blurry in certain aspects compared to dbrand's. So you just think, oh, they just took a worse internal scan. The thing is that certain Easter eggs from dbrand still exist. Like, remember the ribbon cable where I said that dbrand includes that says glass is glass and glass breaks, that tagline of jerry rig everything that's not actually in any phone ever? Somehow Castify's scan has a blurry copy of that exact tagline. But the actual battery doesn't include any of the actual battery information. It instead just includes a QR code, which, by the way, would not be on the battery. Instead, the legally required information for the battery would be on the battery. And of course, the QR code goes to Castify. And then, if you go into more detail, you would then see on dbrand's ribbon cable, dbrand has subscribe on one of them, as you know, the meme, oh hey look, we're collabing with a YouTube creator, go subscribe, etc, etc. Subscribe is gone and instead is replaced with CTFY, shortened for Castify. But remember how I said that dbrand includes 11/11/11, which is to signify the date dbrand was founded, and they kind of use that Easter egg a lot in their works? Yeah, 11/11/11 is present on Castify's as well as Leet speak for robot. R0807 is used as the serial number for a lot of the chips on dbrand skin, because they're a bunch of meme lords and keep joking that their company is run by robots. And Castify's also has R0807 on these chips, which, by the way, the actual chips would not have this kind of serialization written on them in any way that you could see it. That kind of writing that's actually printed on those sort of chips is usually so small you need a magnifying glass to see it. And then, of course, as I mentioned, dbrand loves including the all-seeing eye on their products, and, well, lo and behold, on Castify's, there is an extremely blurry all-seeing eye in the exact same spots. Also, that same 11/11 is seen on one of the batteries, saying that it would have 11.11 watt hours, which is incorrect. The battery would not have 11.11 watt hours. It would have closer to 40. Needless to say, Castify still has that too, despite the fact that the rest of the specs listed with the 11/11 would not add up to 11/11. I'm not saying that Castify blatantly just did a copy paste of dbrand's products, did some very lazy edits in MS Paint, uploaded to their printers, and very quickly started printing out cases. But it very much looks like that's exactly what Castify did. And in other examples that Jerry Rig Everything goes into on his video, it in fact looks even lazier than that, as certain products of Castify's that you can no longer see but do have the evidence of in video show that they're not even matching up the internals correctly. That on some of these you can even see camera lenses out of alignment. The whole thing is incredibly suspect, and it very much does, like, I can't say that Castify clearly did it. All right, I can't yet. Like, from a legal standpoint, they are accused of it. The evidence looks really strong. They're going to be going to court over it. My opinion is just that they very clearly committed copyright fraud. But it gets even better, because of course it does, right? Because it also appears that Castify's X-ray cases were directly ripped. All right, so Castify also has X-rays of devices and put that on cases. It appears as though they took exact copied rips of X-ray images from iFixit and just turn them into cases. iFixit has equipment to go ahead and take x-rays of devices before tearing them down so they can provide as much information as possible to people who want to repair their own devices and to repair shops. Now you might think, well, maybe they have an x-ray machine too. I mean, it's one x-ray is gonna be the same as the other, right? I want you to take your camera, okay? Take your camera, take a picture of something 5 times and see if all 5 pictures look exactly the same. They won't be, by the way. There will be some little lighting differences. Your angle might be a little off. The lighting might be a little off because you moved a little bit, or the sun went behind a cloud or something like that, right? Anytime you take a picture of anything, there will always be slight differences unless you copied the picture perfectly. The same applies to an X-ray. In fact, with an X-ray, there's going to be more factors. On top of all that, the X-rays that Castify is taking are the wrong ones. They flipped them. If you're looking on my screen right now, the Castify one they're showing has the battery and motherboard flipped. Because for the iPhone, the battery is under the camera. It's not under the motherboard. The motherboard needs to be on the other side opened so that it can dissipate the heat through the metal and glass. Whoops. Yeah, Castify is looking less and less trustworthy. And I gotta ask, how many of those collabs are legitimate? How many of them are just someone not wanting to go ahead and just stealing whatever and just post it on there because they can? What was even better is that after Dbrand said they're going to sue Castify, guess what Castify did? Castify started following Dbrand on Twitter. That I find hilarious. So how does Dbrand respond to this? Dbrand responds by getting in touch with iFixit and start selling actual X-ray skins, and then publicly calls out Castify on Twitter saying, got some new X-rays for you to steal. I love Dbrand's snark, but this is not gonna help them when this gets to court, like, at all. I love the attitude, but this is not helping, like, at freaking all. So what does Castify have to say to all this? Are you ready for Castify's response? Are you ready to hear what a company found on the foundation of Chinesium? By the way, yes, Castify is based in China. They are actually based in Hong Kong, which I guess technically isn't part of China, but that's where they're based. But they do have a US branch as well. So going after them is not going to be as hard as it used to be. What did Castify have to say? The statement reads as follows. Castify has always been a bastion of originality, and we hold pride in that. Let me interject right away. How can you say with a straight face that you're a bastion of originality when freaking what percentage of your products are collaborations? What percentage of them are working with other brands to go ahead and put their ideas on a case? You cannot, you freaking cannot look at me square in the eye and tell me you are a bastion of originality when your core function is collaborating with other creative minds and putting their original ideas on a case. The statement continues. We are currently investigating a copyright allegation against us, and we have immediately removed the design in question from all platforms. Let me interject. They did not, actually. After they put out this platform, they removed it from their own platform, but every single other site they also sell on, including Amazon, Best Buy, Newegg, and all that, it took them almost 48 hours to remove them from those sites, which is an awful look when you have the entire tech community staring at you and looking at every single one of your designs under a magnifying glass and wondering just how many of these so-called collaborations do you actually have the permission of? The statement continues. We are also investigating a DDoS attack that disrupted our website when the allegations surfaced. All systems are back to normal now. All customer information is safe. Let me interject yet again. Do you know what the DDoS attack was? It was traffic. It was literally the tech community, fans of dbrand, fans of jerry rig everything, fans of pretty much the entire tech community looking at Castify all at once on Thanksgiving. That's not a DDoS attack. That's your website sucks. But, you know, props for trying to go ahead and try to deflect and say, we're a victim here. We are a victim of an attack. No, you weren't. The statement then continues and finishes with, thanks for your patience and support during this challenging time. Of course, this was the statement they put out on Twitter, and community notes went ahead and said Castify used the original product photos from dbrand's teardown skin and put them on their own inside out case with barely any modifications and any respect to the original copyright. Yeah. No one believes them. Like, this is gonna be interesting, to say the least. Now, I don't know how much they can go ahead and someone in chat says, are you surprised no one believes them? For how much they collab with other brands and other creators, I figured someone would be in their camp. If there is anyone in their camp, they are very, very quiet or are not allowed to talk on Elon Musk's free speech platform that is totally not free speech. I'm sorry, I had to get that jab in there. It was too easy. It's like not making the that's what she said joke. You just can't. If it's right there, you just got to go for it. Now again, I have no idea how far dbrand tries to take this. Dbrand definitely seems like a company that would follow through on a lawsuit out of spite, just based on how they handle their tweets. The question is, how strong is their copyright on the inside of a device that is originally owned by Apple or Samsung that they went ahead and tweaked and made modifications to? There's no doubt in my mind that they can prove that Castify blatantly copied dbrand. I think that's a very easy case to make. The case that is going to have to be made, and the real battle in this legal case, is going to be, can you copyright the inside of someone else's device? That's where I think the attack from Castify against dbrand is going to be, and that's where the fight's going to be. Someone in chat says the Easter egg on the case will be proof. Oh yeah, 100%. The Easter eggs on the case is without a doubt proof that Castify stole from dbrand, knew they were stealing, and tried to make modifications and did it very, very poorly. Needless to say, this is going to be very interesting, but we'll most likely not hear about this for several weeks. But it will still be very, very interesting. We're going to take a break here. When we come back, I want to talk about some other info regarding Google, YouTube, and putting ads in video games. Oh yeah, you're not going to want to miss this. We will be back. All right, let's hope that everything decides to work fine. We had some problems with the button going into this. Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech. I'm Eagle Falcon. Hopefully we don't have any more problems. If you're hearing, if you're watching the VOD podcast or listening to it and this is still here, then everything worked fine after that. Lenovo is suing Asus over a host of patent infringements. I will just tell you this right now. All right, unlike the dbrand one, you want to know how this is going to end up being settled? I guarantee you this Lenovo and Asus suit. I haven't even looked at the mix of hardware and software patents that Lenovo is suing over. It is going to result in a settlement. 100%. Castify, I guarantee you, is going to try and settle. D-Brand's not going to take it because D-Brand feels they got they got Castify dead to rights as far as evidence goes. Like, that's some strong evidence. In this case, look, anytime, what Lenovo is saying is that Asus is looking to have a multitude of different technology that Lenovo has patents for. Normally, how this ends up going is that a royalty deal is reached where the company with the patents gets a couple dollars per unit sold because of the patent, and everything's done. Asus felt that for whatever reason their products didn't infringe on it. Lenovo's now taking legal action. Most likely they're going to settle for, well, pretty much exactly what the patent infringements are. I'm just telling you this right now. That's how this is going to go. I don't know that's how it's going to go, but that's how it's going to go. That's how almost all of these end up going. Kind of like how Sony is facing a 7.9 billion class action lawsuit in the EU. Actually, I think this is actually the UK. Yes, the UK, over PlayStation Store pricing, because the pricing of the PlayStation Store didn't contribute or didn't follow the exact rules that the UK has in place. Most likely following one of my favorite things that here in the US we see on Black Friday every single time, that the price of something right before a big sale day goes up, only to magically be slashed down to its original price just in time for the big sale week. Which, by the way, is an illegal practice in many different countries. My opinion, it should also be illegal here in the States. I'm just saying that is awful practice. And Sony is facing a large lawsuit over it. Actually, I think I'm actually confusing my stories. I am confusing my stories. This actually has nothing to do with Black Friday pricing, though my statement still stands. No, this is actually in regards to the Sony's PlayStation Store, the 30% commission that they charge developers and publishers. The UK is saying that the 30% commission that Sony charges, which actually is industry standard, is negatively affecting consumers and causing game prices to be higher than they normally would be. Good luck with that, honestly. That's gonna be a hard one to prove, just because, in all honesty, Sony really does go ahead and they put out, it's industry standard to do a 70-30 split. It's what Sony does. It's what Microsoft does. It's what Valve does. The only one who doesn't is the Epic Game Store, and people don't want to buy there because it's a terrible experience for the consumer. So good luck with that. That's all I can say in regards to that. But another court case we get more information on. Remember how Epic Games and Google are currently in court? New information has come out of that court case that is still ongoing, that in fact Google does do special deals for companies such as Spotify. Normally on the Google Play Store, there is in fact a 70-30 split. However, Spotify pays nothing. Instead, Spotify pays in other ways, where in fact some payments it's as low as 4%, and in other cases it is nothing. That's all because of a flat 50 million success fund that they all pay to each other. It's something that's just it's not a good look for Google, that much to say. Someone in chat is back on the game price thing, that the price of games actually should be higher due to inflation, but actually hasn't changed. The price of games has slowly gone up. Like, we're now seeing the $60 game that actually has been the standard only recently with the newest generation going up to $70. And I would say that was premature, but nowadays $70 actually feels about right based on the rate of inflation that we've suffered these last few years. Though really, if you want to go after a company for just what feels like massive game price inflation, Nintendo might be the worst. Going from $30 and $50 games to now all Switch games being like $60, and now is flirting with 70 and 80 for a lot of Switch games. For the UK to go after Sony, I'm sorry, but I don't think you have much of a case there. You have a much better case going after Nintendo, if anything. Someone in chat says they remember when they were a child, DS games were like $40. DS games were $33. I remember because it would take me roughly about 6 weeks worth of allowance to go get a new, at the time, DS game. But before then, it would be about 5 weeks to get a Game Boy Advance game. Because, of course, the family had the big consoles. But us individually, we had our Game Boys. So those are the ones we always went for, because it was our personal games. It was the ones that we could go ahead. Whereas everyone pitched in for, say, a new copy of FF7 or anything like that. So the price of the mobile games at the time were ones I remember very clearly. So seeing it shoot up from 3DS games, which were $40, they did end up being $40 at the end of their life, then went up by 50% to $60 on the Switch, was a massive yikes. Especially for Pokemon games. Pokemon games were like 40 easy, 30, 40, and then all of a sudden we go to the Switch for admittedly a lower quality game to then pay 50% more for 50% less quality somehow. That was great. But in any case, that's what's going on with Epic and Google. While in the meantime, claims from the internet. That's how you know they're trustworthy. When it's claims from the internet that YouTube is working intentionally slower on Firefox, while on Google Chrome, it works just fine. Allegedly, Firefox takes roughly 5 seconds longer to load than on Chromium-based browsers. This means basically every other browser in existence, because of course Opera is Chrome, Edge is Chrome, everything but Firefox is Chrome. If you think for a moment, well, I don't use Chrome, I use Opera GX. Nope, you're using Chrome. Everything is Chrome, and you live in a post-apocalyptic wasteland of tech. It's awful, and yes, nobody is happy about it. Or they live in blissful ignorance. But now, here is the best part about this. The slow load speeds appear to either be... Oh, I'm sorry. Chat corrected me. There is also Safari. For some reason, Safari is still allowed to exist. Because Apple's gonna Apple. Anyway. So Firefox seems to be loading slower, but all systems currently show that part of the problem seems to be also on systems running AMD cards. This could be that the AMD AV1 encoder just isn't supported by Firefox and is just using some other form of encoder to go ahead and process the YouTube video. It could just be as simple as that. However, people are having a very hard time proving this is an actual issue. So is YouTube just sabotaging Firefox? And this is a case for antitrust? I'll be perfectly honest, and I say this as someone who is not a fan of the Chrome monopoly. I don't think this is a case of the Chrome monopoly. I don't think this is. I think this is a Reddit post that's going stronger than usual, with not a lot of people able to go ahead and prove what they're showing, and a lot of people being unable to recreate the issue. Do I think that people are making it up? No. I'm saying what is causing the issue most likely is not Google, because if it was, then it would affect 100% of all Firefox users. It just would. That's the truth of the matter. And in reality, yeah, most likely it's something very minor. And maybe it'll just be something that'll just be fixed in an AMD driver update, assuming that AMD cards are linked to the issue. For now, though, all we can do is wait and see what the heck actually is the cause. But just be aware, that's a thing that's going on. However, you want to go ahead and just create the conspiracy theory that, in fact, it's all based on uBlock origin. I mean, go for it. You're going to do it anyway, let's be honest. You hear that uBlock origin is not liked by YouTube, just blame their hatred of uBlock origin. Why not? Or you can just go ahead and join the Reddit solution. Because for all the stupid, whining nonsense that Reddit is good at, sometimes Reddit actually has a brilliant idea. What did they do? They made an extension that blocks ads by just making all ads run 16 times faster than they normally would, and then automatically skip the ads that have the skip ad now button pop up. Okay, you know what? I'll give you credit, Reddit. This is actually really, really funny. And in fact, right now, the extension has been uploaded to the Chrome App Store. Let me actually go ahead and see if it actually, not the App Store, but the extension store. Let's see if it actually is on the Chrome web. It actually is. The ad speed up skip video ads faster add-on from Reddit is up on the Chrome web store and has been approved. Well done, Reddit. Well done. I'm not even mad. That is incredible. So if you're sick of YouTube ads, there you go. And that actually is, I believe that actually is on the new web protocol. So when Chrome does switch to the Manifest v3, that will be an extension that does continue. By the way, the transition to v3 is coming right now. The disabling of Manifest v2 extensions will begin as early as June of next year. So if extensions want to continue functioning, they must upgrade to the v3 versions. This, by the way, if you're hearing a lot of people say, Chrome, Google is going to go ahead and disable uBlock origin because they hate your ads so much. Oh my God, they're being evil. They're being so evil by blocking our ad blockers. They hate ads blockers so much. It's not because of that. That is an incidental effect of the fact they are retiring Manifest v2. It's like me complaining that my kerosene powered car will no longer function as we transition away from kerosene gas stations and instead have gasoline gas stations or something else like that. Has there ever been a kerosene powered car? That seems stupid. That's probably a thing for some weird application. I mean, we have propane powered trucks and whatnot, so it's probably out there, right? Someone in chat said that Steam cars exist. No, Steam cars don't exist. It's illegal to play Steam while driving, so Valve couldn't get a Steam car to exist, clearly. Yes, long ago there were cars powered by Steam. Just not anymore. All right, let's talk about, speaking of Steam and video games, let's talk about Assassin's Creed for a moment and the brazen advertisement they put into Assassin's Creed for the new version of Assassin's Creed. So over the weekend and leading up to Thanksgiving, if you try to open up the map in the older versions of Assassin's Creed, I'm trying to go ahead and find the in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, a pop-up would come up first when you tried to open up the map, trying to tell you that you could get Assassin's Creed Mirage for 20% off, and you have to click off the ad before you could view your map. Incredible. Ubisoft has in fact said that this pop-up was an technical error and was not meant to actually come up. This was a big oopsie doodles, as is said as a professional industry term by someone, and was not meant to happen. Here's my question though. How could you accidentally do this? How do you accidentally play an ad inside a game? The fact that this technology exists within the game is already extremely concerning. This kind of thing should not exist. The fact that you go ahead and play an ad in the game is not feasible, like, at all. And quite frankly, the fact that this could even be done at all, intentionally or in error, I would say is a huge problem. Because when push comes to shove, there should not be a way to put an ad in a game that I've already paid full price for. It's one thing for my free game to have ads in it. I hate it. I think ads in games are stupid, but you know, here's the world we live in. To put it in a game that I paid full price for is even more infuriating. So Ubisoft, screw you for starters, and then you have my instant distrust, and I will not forget this. Not in any way, shape, or form am I going to forget that you actually tried to go ahead and do this. Let's shift gears over to the car world, shall we? Tesla is going to be introducing a fee to limit congestion at superchargers. Oh boy. The new fee will be $1 per minute they charge at their car over 90% at certain supercharging locations. Someone in chat said this is the same scumminess that's coming out of Ubisoft that Unity did. Oh, no. All right. What Ubisoft did was bad. What Unity did with the whole payment restructuring thing is way worse. I'm not going to compare the two. It is like that is like comparing a deer hunter that only wants a pair of antlers to like a serial killer. They're both bad people. One is way worse. But in any case, back to Tesla. Tesla plans on charging US drivers $1 for every minute they charge their car above 90%. I'll just say this much. This fee is very, very strange. Like, first off, electric cars, you really shouldn't be charging your battery above 80% anyway. The thing is that batteries, when you charge them to 100%, it lowers their life expectancy the more you do that. So on an electric car, you pretty much almost exclusively charge to the 80% mark and then stop. So anyone who's actually like in the know and charging their vehicles correctly, they will never see this fee, which then just makes this fee just one big old, wait a minute. Are you just charging me a fee if I'm doing it wrong? Is that what's about to happen here? Someone in chat asked, but what if I forget to take it off the charger? I don't know. If you set your car to stop charging at 80%, I would assume nothing. I would assume nothing would change because your car never goes above 90%. It just stays at 80. Thus, you're immune to the fee, which then just... So the thing is that someone in chat says, what if they forget to take off the charger? An electric car, you can set when to stop charging. You can actually do it on your phone too, but let's be honest, you have no idea how to do it, and I couldn't tell you how to do it. I do know it's a feature within like every modern Android and iPhone that you can actually set your phone to only charge up to 80% if you really want to prolong your battery life. Someone in chat says my car has a battery. I hope your car has a battery. Every car has a battery, you dingus. Every single one of them. You're not going to tell me your car does not have a battery. You're not going to tell me, no, my car has a pull cord to start it. Or I have a car that has a hand crank on the front. So, getting back to the point, you can set your car to just never go above that 80% mark. So let's say you take your car, you plug it into a supercharger, you go have a bite to eat, enjoy the dinner for longer than it took you to charge your car. You shouldn't be charged it if you set the car up, because they'll never go to 90%. In addition, as someone wants to remind us in the chat, they say only at certain supercharging locations when they are busy as well. This is just a really weird, fee that is going to affect, basically no one other than probably the, 2 frickin' supercharging stations that are always packed in Las Vegas and basically nowhere else other than, probably a handful in San Francisco. But we don't talk about San Francisco because that is one giant cesspool of everything's just fine, as the entire city is a giant flaming bag of dog poop. What? You come up with a better analogy to describe San Francisco. Take that. But it's their flaming bag of dog poop, so they live with it. It's just bizarre, because the headline sounds so much worse than it actually is, because it's going to affect basically no one. This headline, however, is way worse, because this actually is really concerning, as apparently there have been an almost explosion of cases of worker injuries at Tesla's giant factory in Texas. Yeah, all that sort of go mentality and not caring about the quality or anything, it's starting to look like it's biting pretty hard back at Tesla. So how long until OSHA kind of just peeks in? As much as I'm not a fan, I've said this before, the ticky-tackness of OSHA really does get on my nerves as a business, just because they'll go ahead and dock you for something really, really silly, like not having a ashtray far enough away from a door by a matter of a few feet. But then you hear cases like this at Tesla where multiple employees have faced very permanent injury because a worker was pinned by a robot. And then I gotta wonder, why is OSHA coming after me for... And I use this generally. My business, honestly, is actually too small for OSHA to do anything about. But at the same time, for our insurance, they still follow OSHA guidelines and are very anal about certain things. So it's really annoying. Why do they go ahead and get on cases for very minor things that literally inflict no harm on anyone? But then you hear about something like this and OSHA's just, I don't know, asleep. I'll be very curious to see how this goes from here on out. We'll just have to wait and see what the follow-ups are to these sort of thing. So let's talk about nothing. You hear that long silence that was probably cut out because we're using new software in the podcast? That's the joke. We're talking about nothing. Ba-dum-tsh. Anyway, nothing and their chat system, Nothing Chats, which is basically what I call every single meeting I ever take part in. Turns out they're not secure at all. Nothing Chats, for those who don't know, is what we talked about before. The company is behind it is actually called Sunbird. And Nothing Chat, which is Nothing, the phone company's way of trying to integrate seamlessly with iMessage, Turns out not secure at all. You can go ahead and just read that stuff in plain text if you get access to the device completely, totally. Whoops. So that end-to-end encryption that iMessage uses, completely invalidated because Nothing Chats is using nothing for security. I definitely stole that one from chat, by the way. Not that it matters anyway, because for the most part, the blue and green bubbles now don't matter because Apple now supports RCS. So Nothing Chats is now already obsolete. And quite frankly, this went from a, I mean, use it if you want, to a just don't. It's not worth it. If you got a nothing phone because of Nothing Chat, it really should mean nothing. Welcome to how I feel about this. I feel nothing. I care for nothing. And thus, we're going to move on from nothing. In other Android phone news, One UI 6 from Samsung is now using nothing for their burn-in protection. Nothing as in actually nothing, not Nothing the phone company, or anything like that. There just is no burn-in protection anymore for the screen, apparently. Is this intentional? Probably not. Is it probably just an oversight and will be patched in later? Probably. Should we go ahead and boycott Samsung for this? Probably not. Did you really just include this entire story just as a little PSA and just to make a joke about nothing after having a nothing story? Yes. Yes, I did. How do I feel about making such a horrible pun? Nothing. I feel nothing. So with that, we move on to hopefully something. Like how Sonos is making an AirPods Max clone. Yet Sonos, the speaker company, is now making headphones that, in fact, if I had pictures of it, would look pretty much exactly, from what I've seen, to the Apple AirPods Max. And then, yes, they are going to be just as expensive. Sonos appears to be trying to sell this thing once it's available for close to $400, according to a Bloomberg report. Okay. We'll see how well that goes. Kind of like we'll also see how well Plex goes with their brand new feature. Plex is showing off a new feature that basically doxes what you've been watching to your friends and family. Introducing Discover Together, where anyone who has access to, well, anyone who's friends with you on Plex can now see what you've been watching on Plex. It is a feature called Discover Together. And what's even better is that it's been implemented without telling you, and it is opt out, meaning that by default, you are enabled into this ecosystem. Plex! You should know better! Why? Someone on chat says that this feature already exists on Steam. Here's the thing. You can disable it. Well, I suppose it's very similar, but the thing is that you don't upload your own products to Steam. The other thing is that you can turn it off on Steam, and it's very easy to do so. On Plex, you can't. And the fact my biggest gripe with this is the fact that Steam, it's well-known, that's a well-known feature. On Plex, this was literally just introduced out of nowhere and then told to basically no one. Not a fan. Not a fan at all. Meanwhile, though, someone in chat asked, what was Eags watching? A lot of, anyway. Meanwhile, though, Destiny 2 has fallen to historic lows on Steam. The average player base has been as low as 34,000 compared to its peak at 59,000 at one time. And that's in the last 30 days. It used to be as high as 316,000. This effectively brings its player base to 10 to 20% of what it once was. And I want to remind you, this game is nominated for best community support. You can't make this stuff up. You just can't. You can't make it up. Woo-wee. Amazing. Simply amazing. All right, is that enough loses for the tech world and the gaming world? You want to talk about a win? Let's talk about Threadripper. Threadripper is out. It has been benchmarked, and the new Threadripper 7000 series is insane. These CPUs are absolutely bat squeak insane, just because these suckers are up to 64 cores, 128 threads, and performance in the high-end compute market, the market of workstations, the market of production, the market of absolute units for professional applications is insane. It takes the gap that Epic and Threadripper left with last generation and takes it to such a high level that Intel just looks like a turtle. Now, here's the downside. Gaming performance on Threadripper versus the highest end Ryzen CPUs is actually worse. Gaming performance on Threadripper is actually, I'm not going to say terrible, because it actually is good. It's just, for a multiple $1,000 processor, you are getting worse performance than you can on an AMD or on a what is this? I got distracted because of a window that was open. That opened itself, I should say. Why am I blanking on the current highest end Ryzen processor? 7950X? I'm pretty sure is the highest end one. Yeah. The 7950X just absolutely stomps any of the Threadripper CPUs when it comes to CPU performance. For gaming, I should say. For any sort of real work, like rendering, for running any kind of multi-threaded process, for video editing, for AI simulations, Threadripper is an absolute monster. Like, the system I run this stream on uses two 12-core Xeon processors. And they're fairly old ones. They're from about 8 years ago, something like that. Like, they're great for, like, they're great for basic tasks. But they really shine when you go ahead and throw a multi-thread application at them. When I go ahead and render a video with them. When I go ahead and try to edit video with them. That's where this Threadripper is going to shine. It's going to shine on those high-end tasks. Like, here's the thing. If you actually do have the kind of money to buy one of these crazy high-end Threadripper CPUs, you really have no reason to do so. I'll just tell you that right now. You really don't. But for those who actually can take advantage of these threads, these processors are insane. And the next time, I want you to remember this, the next time Apple comes out with a brand new crazy high-end Apple silicon chip and tries to say, we have the fastest CPU in the world, this is the processor it's going to go up against. When Apple wants to say their mobile phone processor on steroids, that what it does is impressive and does it efficiently, it is not going to come even close to doing what Threadripper can do. By comparison, this up to 400 watt processor can actually even go even higher than that with certain overclocks, rocking 64 cores, and eventually we'll have a 96 core variant, but isn't out yet, can crunch professional tasks so fast and so well that it will make Apple's little chip seem like a toy. This is why whenever I hear Apple try to say that their task is built for professionals or it's the most powerful thing in the world, I laugh every time, because processors like this exist. And eventually, the technology that makes Threadripper so fast does in fact make its way down to consumer level products. That is why, even though the concept of a 96 core CPU or a 64 core CPU or a 32 core CPU seems absolutely silly, eventually it'll come down to everyone else. Remember when Threadripper first launched? They first launched with a 16 core CPU and that seemed silly. Yeah, you can get a 16 and 18 core CPU now. That's now considered mainstream. Even my system with 24 cores, you can find that in a single chip now. You don't need 2 Xeons like I do. Someone in chat says Eagle gets his hand on those 96 cores within 5 years. I'm not gonna lie, because I know there are some shortcomings in my Z840 workstation. I did kind of look to see if there's any older Threadripper systems on the market that were for a decent price, because man, I'm not gonna lie, I would not mind getting a hold of a generation or two older Threadripper that's rocking 32 cores. I mean, would you? If you could get a 32 core Threadripper that's like 4 years old for like $400, wouldn't you? You can't look at me and say you wouldn't. You totally would. I mean, now you would, now that I said it exists. Just not for $400. Like the cheapest I found was like 1,000, which is not the worst deal in the world, but I don't have a spare grand on me. It's gonna be a while before I have a spare grand on me. Someone in chat says you're thinking about it, aren't you? I am thinking about it. I'm not gonna lie. I am. I'm gonna wait a while though. I'm gonna wait for more workstations to come out with more modern Threadripper chips, which means that more businesses get rid of their old ones. That's when the prices start going down, and then the opportunistic people like me can just sneak on it. Maybe get a little 64 core boy. Maybe go ahead and pick up some kind of thread ripping monster. I mean, that is one heck of a flex to say your system has 64 cores. I'm just saying. It's stupid, but I want it. It's a weird flex, I admit, but it is a good flex. It's almost as weird a flex as someone in Mortal Kombat 1 saying they're being the bosses, that they're being the game's toughest bosses with farts. That is the state of Mortal Kombat 1 when you can beat the game and beat the bosses by farting. You thought the Nintendo Switch version of Mortal Kombat 1 was really messed up. After this news got out that in fact you can fart and win, I would argue every version's messed up. Take that. This is the future of gaming, everyone. Back in my day, it was shattering bones and ripping out skulls and spines. But now censorship has gone to chemical warfare with farts. But ladies and gentlemen, I bring you the last burb, the last story of the day, the weirdest story of the week, which is in very close contention with the farting story. Not gonna lie. But also from the gaming world, Bethesda has given you the most immersive Starfield experience ever. Have you played Starfield? Have you enjoyed the gameplay of cruising through space and not a whole lot happening because they want to go ahead and give a realistic space experience? Well, they're willing to give you that experience in real life. The true Starfield experience. How are they going to do that? It's very simple. You can get the true to life Starfield experience in real life, all thanks to this Starfield duvet set, which from here on out, I refuse to pronounce duvet correctly and will instead pronounce it dovet, because dovet is way more fun to say, even though I know that it's pronounced duvet. I am going to die on this hill, even though completely acknowledge that I'm wrong, but dovet is way more fun to say. You see, thanks to this bed set and this dovet, you can experience Starfield right at home as you see stars everywhere, and you can just sleep as the stars pass you by, just like the real game. But of course, what do you think costs more? What do you think costs more? The dovet set, which includes the dovet case, not the dovet itself. The dovet itself, you have to provide your own dovet. For those who don't know how a dovet works, you actually have the actual dovet, which is basically a plain, very fluffy comforter, and then you have a dovet case that goes over the dovet. So it's basically just a really fluffy comforter. And then of course it comes with matching pillowcases as well. All right, that's what a dovet set is. Once again, I remind you, because someone in the comments is going to say something, I know it's pronounced duvet. I am saying dovet to piss you off. I still don't care. Dovet is still more fun to say. So of course, which one is more expensive? The actual dovet set or the game? Of course, the dovet case. The dovet set is more expensive. Of course it is. $75 for the twin size, $90 for the queen size, and $100 for the king size. And yes, it is just the dovet case and the pillowcase. There are no sheets included, which is a real shame, because what they could have done was include glow-in-the-dark paint. I actually don't know if the stars on the bed sheets are glow-in-the-dark or not, but they could have included all that so that any other things that might glow with a black light would be hidden among all of the glow-in-the-dark dots that make up stars all over the bed sheets. And yes, for that thought process alone means that is why the concept of a Starfield themed bed set is in fact weirder than Mortal Kombat farting your enemies to death. Someone in chat asked how much does the game cost? Oh, the game costs $60. Might be as high as $70, depending on your platform. But either way, it makes the bed set more expensive, no matter your size, than the actual game itself. Folks, that's going to do it for this episode of Eagle Eyes on Tech. Thank you so much for listening. And oh, one last thing. The reviews have all pretty much come out for the Nintendo Switch OLED. Here's the conclusion. Don't get the, or no, I said the Nintendo Switch OLED, the Steam Deck OLED. The Steam Deck OLED's fine if you're just getting into the ecosystem. It is not worth upgrading your Steam Deck to a Steam Deck OLED. It just simply isn't. That's the general consensus. I would totally agree. A lot of people are even going out so far as to say you're better off just getting the cheaper version. I personally went and got an OLED myself. I am happy with it. I love the screen. I love the feel of it, and I love the construction of it, especially since the screws are no longer self-tapping. But that's going to do it for this episode of Eagle Eyes on Tech. Thank you so much for listening. Check out my other works, youtube.com/EagleFalcon, twitch.tv/EagleFalcon. We're out of the holiday season. We're going to be going back to a normal schedule. Take care. See you then. Good night. And enjoy your day. Look, I'm not saying that all the extra spots that are going to show up on your Starfield dovet cover under a black light is, you know, all intentionally gross. It's natural. It's completely natural, and I feel that the stars on it are going to help all of that just kind of blend into each other. And that concept actually is just, what the heck, man. there's just so many jokes you can make about this bed set. And part of me wonders why. Why would Bethesda do this? But then again, Bethesda did try to go ahead and make rum in a plastic shell for Fallout 76. So I guess they've done dumber stuff already. But what if I spilled the cheap rum on the Dovet cover? And yes, I did include this story just so I could keep saying Dovet.